In this video, we're having a look at the 2024 Toyota Sienna, this one being the XSE in this beautiful ruby flare pearl. So when they refreshed the Sienna, they decided to throw out the V6 and instead put in only 4-cylinder hybrids, and that's what we have in this one as well. We do have all-wheel drive thanks to electric motors, 3 of them, 2 in the front and 1 in the rear. And I do like this styling. I do think it looks very cool. One of the best looking minivans on the market today. So what we're gonna do is have a look at this front end design, the side view, the rear, the Supra-inspired rear, and then the 7-seat configuration that we have in this case before we're gonna take this for a drive. The 2024 Toyota Sienna is powered by a 2.5-liter inline-4 and 3 e-motors. It sounds like it would have maybe 700 horsepower, but this one has 245 horsepower. Connected to an eCVT, you do have all-wheel drive. 0 to 60 takes about 8.2 seconds. Fuel economy comes in at 35 city, 36 highway. Not bad at all. The price for this is $52,374. Starting with, of course, the front end design of the 2024 Sienna, and they say the BMW has very big grills these days, but have a look at this thing right here. Huge grill at the lower section. I love that everything is blacked out on this specific trim, the XSE, and we also have the full LED headlights here. The designers said that they were in fact inspired by the bullet trains of Japan when they designed this. You can clearly see this because have a look at this shelf up top here and how the bumper then protrudes forward into this massive facade that is the grille. But thankfully, pretty much the larger portion of this grille is completely open and functional, which is of course a good idea if you're gonna have a grille like this. Now, not everything on the front end is completely functional. For example, we have these plastic pieces here. I would like to see this be opened up and maybe cool the front brakes or something like that. Just make it functional and open this up. I like the styling here though. Toyota has always been one of these companies that some people might say that they overstyle their cars. But for some reason, Toyota just manages to make all the lines all around the car. They just make it work. And I think that happens here as well. All the way down here, we do have, for the XSE, we do have LED fog lights down here as well. I do like this front lip. It gives it a more sporty appearance. In the middle section here, you can see that the Toyota logo is actually blue. You have a blue outline here, which says that this is a hybrid. So every single Sienna is actually going to come with that logo because every single Sienna today is a hybrid. Checking out the headlight design here, I like what's going on here. Again, very stylized. I also kind of like this silver bar that we have here. This trim piece looking very clean. And this probably has the smallest LED indicator I've seen on a 2024 model year. You can see the small little indicator right there, and full LED, as I said, with this beautiful thick LED daytime run light here at the bottom, and this carved portion that cuts into the headlight like this. Looking very clean, and I also think it gives it not an aggressive look necessarily, but a very elegant and classy look, even though we have all these lines going on in the front end. Now, the side view of the Sienna, as I said in the intro, I think this is one of the best looking minivans on sale today, and it has to do with this Toyota over-styling and a lot of line flow going on. What I love here is the shoulder line. Just have a look at this Supra shoulder that we have here, or the beefiness over the rear axle. I think it just plants this car in a way that I haven't seen on any minivan before. The wheels and tire setup, we do have 18-inch wheels, 235s all around. I do believe these 235s, yes, 235s all around, and as I said, all-wheel drive. Like the overall styling of this car with the lines and the blacked out graphics that we have here. We do have a chrome piece up top here, so only the top part of the greenhouse has this chrome piece. I would like to see this maybe be in black, as well as the door handles also be blacked out instead of having it in chrome, but I guess it gives it a little bit more exclusive or luxury feel, but you're splashing a touch of chrome onto this car. Let's have a look in detail of the shoulder line that we have here. We have it cutting from the corner of the front headlights here, dipping down, and then we have this calm ocean here before it comes back very nicely and sharply right here and connecting to the corner of the taillight. We also have this line down here at the bottom, carving out some of this volume at the lower section. Overall, I think the styling of this has more of a sporty styling that I'm used to seeing in minivans, and I do think it suits these proportions to apply some of that Supra styling, specifically that we have in the rear end. So let's check out the rear here. This is some of the best looking taillights I've seen on a minivan. Very nicely done. Thin LEDs, giving it some dynamic features back here. And we also have this section, shelf up top here, and then it carves in, and then you have the Sienna in black. However, if you look at the lettering and the graphics, the emblems that we have back here, we have Sienna, all-wheel drive, and we have XSE in black, and then you also have the hybrid in chrome. I don't understand why they would do that. Why not keep everything in the same blacked out? Now the hybrid just stands out and pops too much, in my opinion, because everything else in the rear is black. In the front end, we do have LED indicators, but in the rear here, you can see, I can see the light bulb in there, which makes it easy to replace, but it doesn't look as premium as if we would have this in LED as well. So this is something that I would want to change for the Sienna, since everything else in the lighting around the car is full LED. I want to have this LED as well. And then we have this blade here, and this goes in more to the Supra inspired styling that I was talking about, just how this black piece cuts into the body, creating a corner down here and then continues into the bumper. And then we have this lower section as well with the blacked out diffuser in the lower section, removing again some of this graphic volume that we have in the rear end. So let's check out the luggage space in the 2024 Sienna. Open it up, power assisted, of course. This one has the captain's chairs, and just check out this storage space that we have here. Absolutely massive and super deep. I could sit in here and be pretty comfortable for a long road trip. That's how deep this is. And you can also fold down these rear seats with one single movement like this with one hand. Just flap them down like that. And then if you do that with both seats, you're gonna have around 75 cubic feet of space, which is not bad for this type of package. However, you cannot fold down the second row of seats because they actually have the airbags built in, which means that they always need to stand upright. But you still have plenty of space here, and if you want to, you can remove these captain chairs and just have a bench seat in the middle if that's the configuration you want for your Sienna. Let's check out the interior of the 2024 Toyota Sienna XSE. Let's fire it up. You have the startup button right here. You can't see it at all when you sit in your driving position. You kind of have to lean over to figure out where that is. But in here we do have I do believe this is 10-inch infotainment screen, which is totally fine. I don't necessarily need a bigger screen than that. However, the integration of this screen or the materials is this Toyota style, which I never really been a huge fan of, because I feel like this gloss plastic here feels pretty cheap to me, and also these buttons, it doesn't look that good. And it's typical for Toyota. They always have that in their cars these days, going back five years or so. And the overall layout for the infotainment screen, the font and the graphics feels pretty outdated to me for a 2024 model year. It doesn't feel like it's obstructing the view, this screen. It doesn't stick up too far up so you can't see the road. It's still pretty big. We do have, thankfully, physical buttons here as well. However, you don't get wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto in this car. That is something that I really miss, and that it would be, if I was looking for a minivan, that would probably be a deal breaker for me, because I don't want to plug in my phone every single time I jump in a car. And specifically in this type of price range, over 50 grand, you should have wireless Apple CarPlay in my opinion. Looking further down here, you do have 2 vents on each side here, very easily adjustable. You actually have 4 climate zones in this car, 2 in the front and also 2 up there in the back, we're gonna have a look at in a minute. Love the array of physical buttons here, looking very clean. I also like this specific screen for the climate control settings. So you have a full LCD screen, I do believe this is, where you can see all the climate settings that you currently have available for you, and very easily adjustable here. So it's not part of the main infotainment screen. And in addition to that, we also have all these buttons down here. Heated seats in 3 levels, ventilated seats in 3 levels for this XSE as well. And you have the same for the passenger side as well. I like the trim, or I like the materials that we have in here. We have leather up top, hard up top here, but it's soft as it comes closer to this edge here. We also have the silver piece going on here, similar to what we have in the front end design with the graphics. Sort of comes back here for the interior, looking very clean. You also have a shelf here where you can put a lot of things, a couple of markers, a big pen, something like that. You also have a wireless charging pad right here. Not sure how well this is gonna hold on to your phone, but since this is not a fast Car 0 to 60 in 8.2 seconds. I don't think your phone is going to slide around too much. You have a USB outlet right here as well, a regular USB. Pretty interesting location for that USB port. 2 cup holders here. You have 18 cup holders in total. Gear selector here. You also have the drive mode selector here. I'm not sure why you could select sport in a minivan like this, but you do have a sports setting. I would never use the sports setting. I was always gonna have it in, probably always gonna keep it in eco mode because it just makes sense. That's what this car is built for, and that's how you get the best MPG as well. You have EV mode here as well. You can drive this in full EV, but it's not a very powerful motor, so it's not gonna work very well unless you're just driving around a parking lot. Gear selector here, putting it into reverse, gonna pop up the rear view camera. That is one of the least clear or worst resolution rear view cameras I think I've ever seen, specifically for 2024, and you don't even have trajectory lines. Again, a car over $50,000, Toyota needs to have a better camera than that. But you also have the option to shift manually here. I don't know how that works still with CVT gearboxes, how you're shifting manually with that, but you have the option here if you want to do that. Under here you do have 2 more cup holders. Popping this up, you have a huge storage here and a USB-C, a regular USB there as well. Now this is something that I'm not a fan of, these armrests here, because it feels like I want to have it be thicker than I want this entire piece to be covered by an armrest. Now it feels like my arm is kind of sliding off every time I try to get comfortable, and they're just too thin for me personally. If you're a little bit smaller or a little bit shorter, I don't think this is a problem at all. Now looking at the steering wheel here, pretty decent looking steering wheel. Looks like a classic Toyota steering wheel, leather wrapped, of course, perforated here on the sides. You have this orange stitching for the inside, looking very cool. And you have the controls for the cruise control settings and the tuning for the radio here on the right side. And you have the volume knob and voice command and the option to change up the layout of the gauge cluster display on the right side right here. And I also like that we have a nice housing for the gauge cluster here. We have an analog tachometer, or if you can call it a tachometer. You have this power eco mode or charge gauge on the left side, and you have the speedometer on the right side with the fuel gauge underneath, and a pretty decent size screen in the middle, which looks really cool. And as I said, you can configure this and do whatever you want to have whatever information you want in the center screen, and that's exactly what I want to see. Now looking at the doors here, you have plenty of storage, and you have 2 more cup holders down there. This one comes with a JBL sound system, which sounds pretty good. And looking up top, we have a standard size sunroof. I do believe you can get this equipped with a full moonroof. Overall, the driving position feels pretty cool. I like these seats, except for the armrests. They're very comfortable, heated and ventilated. It feels sort of premium in here, except for the integration of the infotainment screen right here. All right, jumping in to the second row here, just click this button like that and it opens up. Power assist, very, very nice. And you can slide this seat back and forth. But as I said, you cannot fold this down because you have the airbags built into these seats for the third row passenger, so it always needs to stay upright. But the space in here, very, very nice space. You also have this grab handle here, which is super nice. Sit very high up here compared to the front seats, but me being 6'1", 6'2", no problems at all. And up top here, we do have the climate control settings for the second row. So you have separated zone here, and you have a second zone for the other passenger back here. So 4 in total, which is not bad at all for this type of vehicle. Vents up here in the corners and a light as well. Further down, you do have 2 USBs right here, 1 USB-C, 1 USB regular, and you have a house outlet in the middle. And in addition to 2 cup holders in the center, you also have cup holders here in the door. So cup holders everywhere in the Sienna. Now jumping into the third row seats, let's see if I can fit back here. I do think I would actually be pretty comfortable back here as well. No problems at all. 2 more cup holders. You have a couple more USB ports here and some vents up top in the roof. And that's pretty much it for the back seat. Not bad at all. Setting off in the 2024 Toyota Sienna XSE. This one, as tested, is over $52,000. There are a couple of features in here that I really miss. For example, wireless Apple CarPlay being number 1. That's the main feature that I want in here. But overall, you have plenty of power. I mean, it's not the most powerful minivan out there. We only have 245 horsepower, which is not a lot. If you had the V6, definitely going to be more. But the good news here is that we have all-wheel drive. We have a hybrid setup, so we have 3 electric motors, 2 in the front, 1 in the back, and the 1 in the back is what gives you all-wheel drive. And the fuel economy is around 35, 36. It doesn't matter if you're on the highway or if you're cruising around the city, thanks to the hybrid setup. And 0 to 60, not the fastest one, but that's not what this is about at all. 8.2 seconds. We also have a CVT gearbox, which is my least favorite gearbox. First of all, it sounds like it's, I've said this before, but it sounds like it's revving non-stop when you floor it. So let's floor it here. Going uphill. It just revs and revs and revs. We're doing 40, 50, and there we're up to 60. So it's not the most fun minivan to drive with this gearbox. I still don't understand how the manual transmission works. But the good news is, as I said, you do get very, very good fuel economy. I do think it's the best in class because the Carnival, you have the Odyssey and the Pacifica, they all have V6s still. So I'm kind of glad that Toyota went with a hybrid setup here because I think that's what matters more to people who buy this vehicle. I kind of like this interior. It's nothing bad about this interior. I just feel like it feels a little cheap, specifically with the integration of the infotainment screen with all the plastic that we have here. And these buttons just does not look good at all. I wish Toyota would switch these up and come up with something new that looks a little bit more premium than this. But the functionality of everything works really well. I like that we have a housing for the gauge cluster here and that we have analog tachometer and speedometer. I kind of like this eco gauge that we have on the side here. So if you let off the gas, it's actually going to charge the battery, which I think is cool that you have some regen charging in this vehicle, and that is of course what gives you this great fuel economy. Then you can see if you step on it, it goes up to eco, and if you really floor it, goes into power, and you can hear that 4-cylinder 2.5 sounds like it's struggling to keep this thing moving. You also have a fantastic range on this when you fill it up. I do believe it has an 18-gallon fuel tank, and that will give you a total range of over 600 miles, closer to 620, 630 miles, which is great if you want to take this on longer road trips. One feature that pretty much never works well in the cars that I've tested is the ventilated seats. So I have it on the max setting here, so 3 levels, the highest level of ventilated seats, but I really can't feel that these are cooling me down one bit. So I'm sure they work, they just never work efficiently. Overall, the driving experience of this Sienna XSE is very smooth. It really soaks up the road very nicely. We're gonna take it out on the highway now and I can show you what it feels like just cruising 70 miles per hour. Coming on to the on-ramp here, flooring it again. And we're up to 60, and that was downhill, so probably 6 seconds or something like that downhill. Normally on a flat surface, as I said, over 8 seconds, 0 to 60. So cruising here, it's very comfortable. These seats, I like these seats. The only problem, as I said when we talked about the interior, is this armrest, because my elbow keeps sliding off. It's too thin. That is the only negative thing, really, I have to say about these seats. Other than that, it's very, very comfortable. Overall, the 2024 Sienna XSE, specifically in this trim level, we have the blacked out graphics on the outside. I think it looks good. The Xperia is one of the best looking minivans on the market today. And if fuel economy is something that is a top priority for you, this is probably the minivan that you want to get, because this is the one that comes with the 4-cylinder and the hybrid setup and the 36 mpg highway and city. The pricing is pretty decent as well for what you get. Around $52,000 for this one. It's not bad, even though it lacks a couple of features that I want to see. But overall, for what it is, a people mover in this classy package, I think it's a cool minivan overall.